So let's just go through the standards that you guys are going to be held to, and that you of course want to meet in your intellectual and intelligent conversations. So these are 11th and 12th grade standards, that you initiate and participate effectively in a range of collaborative discussions with diverse partners on topics, texts, and issues, building on others' ideas and expressing your own clearly and persuasively. So the idea is that you build on one another's, and you're gonna have to like get out of that trance there. You're gonna have to build on, the goal is to build on one another's ideas. So the way we do that is by using our discussion statements, which we have some of them on the back. Some of them are on your prep sheet, and some, I don't know if everybody printed them out or not, but you can definitely use those. You can also use what we have up here, because I always have questioning, affirming, agreeing, paraphrasing, acknowledging, clarifying, soliciting a response, disagreeing. Lots of statements that you connect, that you use to connect your ideas and build on one another's ideas. 1A, come to the discussion prepared, and I will reiterate Robbie's point that you guys were supposed to have done this Friday, so everyone should have had theirs all done. Having read and researched material under study, which is for today our early American writing, explicitly drawing on that preparation. So you will use your prep sheets on the topic or issues to stimulate a thoughtful, well-reasoned exchange of ideas. Things that you know from your experience, personal experience in reading through early American literature, any history, what you heard from other people's reading experiences, things that you've experienced in your own life or heard or experienced through someone else's life or the news. B, work with peers to promote civil democratic discussions and decision making. So civil democratic discussions. And if we go down below, one of the discussion norms is that we, I can find it, agree and disagree with ideas, not people. So that's one of the ways that we can promote civil and democratic discussions. C, propel conversations by posing and responding to questions that probe reasoning and evidence. Ensure a hearing for a full range of positions on a topic or issue. So just don't have one person share their idea and then drop it. Dig deeper, propel that conversation forward so that we get a bigger, better understanding. Clarifying, verifying, challenging ideas and conclusions. Promoting divergent and creative perspectives, helping us see everyone's perspective. And then respond thoughtfully to everyone's perspectives. So the norm, one person speaks at a time. However, you do not need to raise your hand. It's done, even though it's formal, it's done somewhat casually. Everyone contributes ideas. No one dominates and no one withdraws. So if you are a withdrawer, if you normally don't speak, right now I want you to challenge yourself. You can turn your prep sheet over and circle maybe a couple statements that you know you can challenge yourself to use so that you can get your ideas out there. And if you are one that usually dominates the conversation, be cognizant of that and remember to draw in other people into the conversation and allow other people that space to share their ideas. Which leads to number 4. Invite others into the discussion artfully. Oh, and I skipped one. Use transitions and discussion statements to connect comments. Agree, disagree with ideas, not people. Ask clarifying questions, such as, you see up here, can you elaborate on that? What in the text made you think that? What do you mean by that? All goes up there. Support a point with evidence from the text. Please don't just share your opinion or just agree, but share why you agree with that or why you have your opinion using the text that you have in front of you. The textual examples. Synthesize and summarize points of agreement in order to come to conclusions. So it sounds like we all believe what? So you can use synthesizing. Oh, I can't see what it is. But with paraphrasing. So you're saying, or we, what I hear you saying, or what it sounds like we all agree on. Things like that. Use body language and eye contact to communicate active listening, so no one will be disengaging non-verbally. And stay in a posture of humility, intellectual flexibility, and curiosity, which means what? Humility, intellectual flexibility, and curiosity. What does that mean?
Beats me.
If you are
Who beat you?
taking on a posture of humility, what does that mean?
Sitting up straight.
Is it really talking about your physical posture?
Yes.
If you're humble and you're sharing an idea, right, you're wrong. Yeah. So a posture of humility is accepting other people's ideas. Intellectual flexibility, actually growing, understanding that, oh, that perspective. Kat, can you come over here, please? Oh, yeah, sure. That someone else's perspective might actually be appropriate, might actually be worthy, and something that could grow your perspective as well. Okay, so what I want you to do, turn that sheet over that we were just going through, and look at the scoring rubric. Decide where you want to be. So getting a proficient grade means that you're prepared, that you all have your prep sheets, that you are actually using good body language, eye contact, active listening, that you're responding to questions, and that you're doing at least two of the following: building or hitchhiking on others' ideas, asking clarifying questions, quoting the text using your textual support or general support or experience, and using language of recognition and appreciation. Okay, so if you want something higher for your grade, then you're going to be posing questions, making new connections, qualifying or justifying, synthesizing, challenging the ideas of other people, and actively incorporating others into the discussion. So I want you to circle where you want to be, things that you actually want to do during this conversation. Everybody can do that.
We actually have to circle it.
Yep. And put your name on it. Do what?
Oh, man.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
Wait, we have to circle.
Yep, put your name on it,
Hey.
on that
Do
scoring
what now?
side, and circle where you want to be.
So we're basically grading ourselves right now, wherever.
Or anything. Going to that basic.
You're setting a goal.
Yeah,
Setting your
like,
goal for
it's kind of like
participation.
hobbies. Everyone wants to
That's what?
give. Everyone wants to give.
Okay, so then I want you to make sure, if you want an A, I want you to make sure that you are going to actively incorporate others in the discussion. You're going to challenge ideas, synthesize and summarize points, qualify your views, discussing why you believe
Try
something,
hard.
making new connections, posing questions.
What did you do?
I'm kidding.
Okay,
I'm glad you're challenging yourself.
all right, so we've got, 35,
Just pass.
37, oh, I haven't talked about the outside circle yet. My apologies. Okay, so we know what the inside circle is going to be doing. You're going to be discussing, and any one of you can start. However, what the outside circle is going to be doing is, and I have directions to number off when it's in twos, but what I've already done is take some active verbs and verb phrases onto your desk. And if you have one that says content, you are going to be commenting on the content that's being shared in the discussion. So Robbie might make a point about the format of a lot of the early American literature being documents. So Kat, who is responsible for content here, might say, let's see, Robbie states, or Robbie asserts that most documents or most literature are documents. So using those active verbs instead of Robbie said, Robbie said, Robbie said, Robbie said. So you can challenge yourself to use active verbs. The others are discussion statements. Do I have everyone's attention?
Yeah.
Because the inside circle needs to know this when you get on the outside. The other ones that have discussion written on your verb phrases, you are going to be concentrating and commenting on what those on the inside circle are doing for discussion. Are they challenging? Are they disagreeing? Are they responding to a question? Are they hitchhiking? So you're going to be concentrating on the skills that they're using. Content, you're going to be concentrating and commenting on what's being said and shared and discussed. And discussion commentators are going to be commenting on what discussion skills are being used and thinking skills. Okay, so everyone on the outside should be on today's lesson plan. Click on where it says commentator, and that will get you to our today's meet. And just go ahead and put your name there, your real name, please. It can just be your first name.
Houston.
And then once you've signed in, then you can go ahead and comment on either discussion, if you're a discussion focused commentator, or the content.
You have to like who said the content.
Yeah, like,
Brendan said blah.
yes. And you can actually, a commentator, if you feel, I need everybody's attention. If you feel that someone made a strong point, you can add comments like that. You can put somewhat of a value on it, or an opinion of strong statement asserted by Wyatt. Okay, or you're a commentator, so you're commentating on what's being said, paraphrasing, but yet you can also add some of your own evaluative nature to it, as long as it's academically appropriate. Any questions?
Wyatt.
Not even
Yes.
the right person.
Mine used to just say, please only give, please only use.
It's not even the right person.
Okay, so
It's your family
you
though.
can click on it.
Yeah, he's.
I hate you.
Who wants the volunteer leader?
Why? You know you are his brother. You're
I
Wyatt.
nominate me to read the question.
Just do your first name. Yeah, just do your first name.
I will not say a word.
Yeah.
Cody's here.
All right. And on the commentator page, you can only do 140 characters. So if you have more than that, then it'll stop, or it'll actually post.
Turn into a circus.
I can't remember if it actually posted or if it'll stop and not allow you to post. Any other questions?
We need Cody.
No, we don't.
Okay.
Okay, so I am going to, we have just under half an hour, so I'm going to say 12 minutes for, well, 10 minutes for each conversation. And understand, this is our first time in this class having a discussion like this, so we're just learning the ropes here. But we'll put 10 minutes on the timer.
Did 5 last year?
Nope, we did it between 8 and 12. 5.
8:15
actually, not just some 15 minutes. Okay, are you ready? Everybody knows their role? Okay, you may begin.
How did these themes shape current day America? Clayton, what are your thoughts on the question?
They helped form our society by being very important.
There you go. That's what you get.
Yeah. How about you, Jeff? What do you think?
People today value freedom and independence.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Very, very in depth. I like that.
I had they created documents that are still in use today, like the Bill of Rights.
Thank you.
What are your
What
thoughts?
about you, Tanner?
I said that a lot of the documents were made at like a time when the nation was young and they kind of needed like documents to base their new nation off of. So that's what they got.
I like
I respect that.
Young and reckless, huh? Nice.
I would agree with you, Tanner, but we are descendants from people whose government was young. So we have found ways to make improvements.
I agree.
Gotcha.
What about you, Clayton?
Well, if those documents were any different, our country would be a lot different than it is today.
like this guy.
That's true.
He's
I
good.
see what you mean.
I like that.
Are we ready to move on to the next?
I want to know what you have.
I put that they really, a lot of the things that I read were the historical documents that founded our government. So they really just put the building blocks into place for everything.
He's a good. I like that.
I'm going to add a clarifying question in. The question
Student led.
was,
Um,
how do these themes shape current day America? What are these themes? that the question is referring to?
These themes are
What are
freedom,
these
independence.
themes that the question is referring to?
Hang on. I got it.
Go on.
I'll find it.
Freedom and
Independence.
revolution.
Freedom, independence, creation, fear, survival, slavery, religion, rights, witchcraft, magic, native.
Witchcraft.
Just to name a few.
I think that was actually all of them.
It might have been.
So
I want to
how
chat.
how do the themes that were just mentioned relate to?
I think that they're all relevant for the time.
Especially witchcraft.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Sorry.
I apologize deeply. Please continue.
It's pretty much everything that they were going through back in the day. So they wrote about what they were feeling and what they were dealing with. That changed how we are today.
Are you crying? Are you crying?
I can work with here.
Do Americans today value what they valued back then? Question mark.
Well, we value Big Macs and guns now. Back in the day, we valued that freedom and independence.
We still value freedom and independence.
No, we don't.
Yeah, I don't think we do as much. Like, we don't realize what the Americans had to go through.
Sorry, I'm dropping out.
I think it all depends on your perspective and
How
what
you're
you've
raised.
dealt with in life.
You're raised.
So,
That would play a part.
Even though
Can
we're
you
all,
expound on that?
I would like to.
Like slavery. There's
Yeah.
no more slavery, I'm pretty sure.
I like this.
The African Americans are happy.
We got a whole month for them.
Yup.
When's White History Month?
The other 11 months.
I like your views on that. I think he's on to something.
Subtract from mine.
Can we move on to the next question?
Yeah.
Oh, we already read that one. My bad.
We're the writers.
Okay. Were the writers of these documents / letters aware of the long-term impact, or were they thinking in the moment? Question.
I have to think they were thinking in the moment, because it was the moment, of course, in which they were writing.
I agree, because they were trying to shape the minds of their time so they weren't oppressed by the British people.
What are your views on this, Tanner?
Thank you, that's all.
I feel like they affected the future and like the long-term impact more than they thought, even if they didn't really mean to.
I would agree with that.
yeah, I don't think they knew at the time that they were creating stuff that people would use like 100 years later. I said I agree.
I agree.
I agree with that.
Yep.
I concur.
Even the Declaration of Independence, you don't think that they felt or at least hoped that it would have a lasting impact on the rest of humanity?
Yeah, but maybe not like forever.
I guess some of the more
Reach
official
forever,
documents
You know what?
were.
It's forever.
You can still
We'll get there
alter
right
it.
now.
I don't think they were planning this far ahead.
Yeah.
I would agree with Justice when she said that that they didn't think that they would still be in place today because of how much times have changed and them knowing that people break away from other countries, so they didn't know how long this new nation was going to last.
If they would have known the long-term standard they were setting, who knows what they would have wrote down instead. You know?
Very true.
It's a great point.
Thanks. What are your thoughts, Clayton?
I think they did what they did because they were trying to start the country and knew that everyone was going to have to follow it. And
Well, it looks like we're out of questions.
And yet you still have time.
Oh, God.
What a coincidence.
how much time?
What is our time situation looking like?
2.5 minutes.
Oh, all
Why don't we
right.
talk about the literature we've read?
What was your favorite theme?
Yeah. Oh,
I like the
Freedom.
freedom. 'Cause they were an underdog going into the fight. And they just came back and opened up some American spirit on them.
Do you think our time today still has rivalry with the British for what they've done in the past?
No.
That Super Bowl last night or Sunday night, that commercial, man,
Mm.
could have gone either way. I mean,
Mm.
we could have been friends with them and just been like, hey, can we just get our independence without that big battle? But couldn't do it.
Do you think things like the Boston Tea Party happen everywhere else in the world right now, at the second?
Yeah. There's like things leading up to nations wanting their freedom. Like maybe not exactly the Boston Tea Party, but like
Revolts.
other revolts for sure.
Bad leaders.
Do you think people would be more violent about revolting or more peaceful because of the times changing?
I feel like with the weaponry that we have today, they'd be a little bit more peaceful. Because back in the day,
Wow, I went the total opposite direction.
Yeah.
I was going more
More
violent than
weapons
the
would be
weapons.
more violence, not
Oh,
more
well.
peace.
Well, like nuclear war.
Or
yeah,
like
like
it really
Cold War.
depends on what country it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, it varies from situation to situation.
And how might
That's what they
literature be different in documenting that?
Can you repeat the question?
How would literature be different in documenting the difference that you are talking about right now than it was in the early American writing era?
I see what you mean.
The winners would write that they did better. Technically, they did.
What are the differences in
Like one.
formats that you might see?
More tight.
might be
More
more
peace.
electronic.
They're not as formal.
Such as?
They probably wouldn't write a Declaration of Independence.
Yeah.
I think it'd be more verbal.
Yeah,
More actiony.
Short and
it'd be like a Michael Bay movie.
Like with robots? They
Yeah.
use robots?
Explosions.
Okay.
It's off topic. I'm off.
Sorry.
What are your thoughts on this subject, Clayton?
Subject.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Chad, keep asking questions.
I can't think of any. I'm trying. Do you think things like witchcraft still happen today?
Yes.
Yeah.
Why do you think
Yes,
that?
my
Casey?
My sister was a witch.
And where is it in our literature today?
Fiction
Do you think
or nonfiction. I don't even really know which one's which, if we're being honest.
Do you think witchcraft is kind of like the conspiracies today? Like people think Obama's a lizard man, but people back then thought people were witches. And now we have lizards.
It's just
Probably
a
the
long
same group of people.
Mind blown.
Same type.
Thank you.
Any last statement besides that?
Thanks.
All right. End of round one. However, before we switch,
confetti. It's a
let's evaluate.
Came right back here.
Outside circle.
Yes.
What are some good positives that happened inside? Hitchhiking, yes.
Manners.
And, go ahead.
I was gonna say there's a lot of convincing people to describe why they thought things rather than just like.
Okay, so digging deeper, asking them to elaborate and clarify or justify.
You're welcome.
Yeah, very good. Integrating other people into the conversation. What else? Good what? Good questions. Okay.
Thanks,
All
Chad.
right, what are some things, could the outside circle hear the inside circle always?
Yeah.
Okay, so volume was pretty good. What are some suggestions that you would make outside circle for the inside circle for next time? Using direct quotes, yes. Textual evidence to support your opinions is fabulous, the best kind.
Put that in my notes.
What else? For suggestions.
Put it out.
Restating what you agree with.
Yes, I agree with what Casey said that blah, 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 right?
I did that.
What did I hear?
Like slowing down their discussions, they got through their questions really fast.
Okay. And how do we do that?
Add more questions.
Elaborate.
Elaborate, right. And you can add more questions, and you can certainly,
Chad did.
when you're done with the prepared questions, you actually can always come with more prepared questions, but questions that feed off of, that hitchhike from what has already been stated. How about the show factor?
What's the show factor?
The non-academic speaking and tones of voices and that type of thing.
Pretty good.
No, I would disagree with you. Because those who actually want to take on the academic tone, it's much more difficult when you have someone who's taking on a performance tone. So keep that in mind too.
Sorry.
All right, so switch. Those on the outside come inside. Those from the inside go outside. Make sure you know if you're content or discussion focused. Try to get it.
What do you do out here now?
Get on to today's lesson plan. Let's click on the making comments about play-by-play on the skills, the discussion skills.
On the skills?
Yep, and you've got your list of active verbs, verb phrases there that will help you. Are they synthesizing? Are they challenging? Are they actively engaging? Are they
Like, we don't have
clarifying?
to give her specific.
Yes, I do want to give. Like Brendan challenged Taylor's idea of that. Okay, as long as I know who it is. Not that it's Antichrist or something like that.
Casey
that I also
thinks
get.
his sister is a witch. That expands his question.
Oh, that's good. All right. Okay, so I will do 10 minutes for the inside circle. You can definitely start afresh. You can also hitchhike on things that you heard from the inside circle in round 1. And anyone may start.
Wait, hold on.
Okay.
Maybe the document.
Yeah.
Is it under
Oh, wait, there's a
document for it?
No, it's right on the commentator link.
What?
To today's lesson plan.
I'm trying to get there.
There it is.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm just off my rocker today.
No.
Just let us know when we're ready.
What they talk about. All right.
Wait. Don't use that. Nickname.
Robin.
Okay, you may go.
How do these themes shape current day America?
I put they set up America's foundation and helped shape the current government.
How did they shape current government?
I think it's a lot of influence.
I think our strive to be free has shaped a lot of modern day society and it made our government the way it is today.
I agree with that. The people back then kind of set the tone for us now. So then we build off what they learned, or because they didn't have anything. So we build off what they learned and then made our own things and made them better or worse, I guess.
Do you think they knew that they would stay and help us today? These documents?
I do, because when they were doing the Constitution, they were super specific about what form of government they wanted. They wouldn't even call it a democracy because they thought that would lead to dictatorships.
I agree with that. And not necessarily because just the foundational documents kind of set up for where we are. But this is kind of the last question. And the letters and diaries and stuff still kind of, it was the beginning of a road to where we are now. And I don't think they really realized that the impact that they would have on us.
I agree with you. We learn in history class all about the past and how our government was set up, and the writings and the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution all set up our foundation, and it's still what we learn in class today.
Well, obviously things have changed since then. Do you think, compared to what it was back then, if they were to be alive and see what our government is like today, you think they'd be happy with it?
Not necessarily. I think they'd if they could see how we've evolved, not just jump right to today, but could see how it's grown, they can maybe understand that we're kind of in a situation with our government being hard to have bills passed and everything, but I think they'd definitely be somewhat disappointed with how it's ended up.
I agree. You can go.
I was just gonna say I agree, and I lost it. But yeah, because we're looking back, see some flaws. You know, we can see it's not perfect, and we grew to get here. And it's just going to be the same if they look at us now. They're going to be, well, that's not how we wanted it. But we're going to have different views because of the time periods. And Hunter, do you have anything to add?
Not really. I agree with the majority of those statements.
Are there any other themes other than freedom that shaped?
There are others, but I can't think of them right now, I guess. But the main one would be freedom, because that's how we live in our society today.
You guys think religion had anything to do with any of these documents being written at the time?
Well, I mean, we moved to America in the first place for religious freedom. Like, that's one of the major reasons we came to America to colonize and settle here. So, yeah. Do you have anything to add? Or
I feel like religion was bigger back then maybe than it is now too. So yeah, it probably did have a lot to.
Yeah, I agree with you because it states that freedom of religion. They said that just because they wanted more people to go along with our government. Because without that, there was a lot of Puritans that came across.
I agree with religion because in America we're free to practice our religion in most places, and in other countries you're only allowed one and you must practice it. Without doing so, you could be in a lot of trouble with the law.
And I think that so many of them came over so they could practice like a certain religion. So a lot of them came over to still had similar religions, whereas now we've expanded to have a lot more. And like in the Crucible, they were also scared of the devil. And yeah. Haley, do you have anything?
That kind of goes to the second question, their values, because back then religion was a huge value back then. But then here, some people value it a lot more than other people, I guess.
Okay, well, going off that, we'll go to our next question because you talked about values. Do Americans today value what they valued back then?
I think it just depends on the value in the person. Because a lot of people value a lot of different things, and they mean things to different people.
I think it's like depends on the generation you're into, like what values change is, because I know like my parents in that generation seem to value religion a lot more than like my generation does. Do you have anything to add, Monica?
I would actually agree with both of your statements. It does depend on the person. But some people actually view the religion, their values differently. Some people would actually not cherish them as much as some people that try to get into America, immigrants, would actually value it a lot more.
I feel that we value some things the same, but then some things I think we like are different. But we value some different things, and some we keep the same.
Like what?
I think freedom is like kind of both because I think we value it, but I think at the same time it's like
take it for granted.
Yeah.
But yeah, like what Hunter said, I think most Americans, not everybody, but most take everything for granted. Like if you think about people in Africa, how they have nothing to eat and like maybe we'll throw away like a little bit of food. I mean, that's just taking some things for granted nowadays compared to back then. They would probably
They cherished everything because they're still in survival.
They'd keep that.
I feel like we value cell phones and TV, like
communication.
Yeah, and I have like that. An average American spends 34 hours a week watching TV, and that's like a whole day. That's 10 hours. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's 34 hours in one day.
I said plus 10 hours.
I know.
I think our values just change depending on where you live as well, because since we live in the Midwest, we might value hard work and dedication since we're kind of in a farming community more than if you lived in like downtown Los Angeles. You don't value where you come from and what's on your table.
I agree with that, and I want to add that your values also have a lot to do with how you're brought up by your parents. So it doesn't always have to do with like your location, but your previous generations.
Should we go to the last question?
Were the writers of these documents and letters aware of their long-term impact, or were they just thinking at the moment?
I think some knew their impact, like the Declaration and the Bill of Rights and all that. They knew it because that was set up for like all of America. But then like letters and diaries, that was only supposed to go to maybe 1 or 2 people. So I don't think they actually knew that it was going to have a huge impact on today.
I think like the Declaration of Independence, they probably like knew that they would have some impact, but I doubt that they knew like it would be as big as it was, or like still influencing us today, or still be reading about it today.
And if they realized that it wasn't only our country that they were gonna impact, that it was other countries, I don't know who specifically, but
I think they were aware, because they wouldn't have made all these things just for their lifetime. Because I mean, most of them were probably in their 30s, 40s, even 50s when these documents came out. They weren't like, oh, let's keep these for a couple 20 years. I mean, they obviously had reason and wanted to make America a freedom country instead of what it was.
I think they hoped like it would have a big impact, but they didn't like know for sure that they wanted it to.
I agree with you as well, because when you say they were 30, 40, or 50, their lifespan back then was a lot shorter than what we have today, and they wanted what they had to say to be heard while they were still in their right mind and still had the ability to write it down.
I agree with that, but I kind of disagree a little bit, because I think because it was in the early days, I think they were still kind of in survival mode. So they were just doing their best to set up for a little bit into the future, but not, I don't think they thought that it was going to affect today, like 200, 300 years later. So I don't think that they thought it was going to go carry that far.
and I kind of wonder if like they doubt themselves that they know that it was going to be successful, or do they say, you know, is eventually this going to fall apart? And so if they did think it was long term, did they feel confident that it was going to be good for the long term?
Last comments?
Freedom.
Discussion.
Very good. Okay. Evaluate round 2. What are some outside circle? What are some good positives that happened inside?
Emily did a good job of pushing the conversation deeper.
Right, propelling it by asking clarifying questions. Yeah, that helps propel that deeper. It continues it the conversation going. Yeah. Other positives?
Brendan asked a lot of questions.
Okay. Yes, and posing questions propels that and continues it forward. What's that? In depth. Yeah. All right. Very good. Good, successful first Socratic discussion. I would like you to do 3 things before you leave in 3.5 minutes. 1, grade yourself. Put a star next to the things that you believe you did. And then turn that and your prep sheet in to me by putting it on that big quad table over there. So I want your rubric and your prep sheet. And then click on our 3-minute thinking thread and analyze the effectiveness of today's Socratic discussion. What did you think it was? The good things that came from it and things that you will keep in mind to do for next time. That's on the 3-minute thinking thread, probably. Is that what your question was?
No.
Oh, put a star next to the things you feel you did.
And then what do we need to do?
Leave that and your prep sheet over there on the big table, and then visit the 3-minute thinking thread and analyze the effectiveness of today's Socratic discussion.
It doesn't have to be like in the same category that you circled.
No, actually, you can start anything that you did.
Where do you want these?
On the table. Great job, guys.